I can feel the blood creeping up from the heathens. Got will, got fight, got pride, got reason. If they wanna go eat, you know I'm gon' feed them. If you're coming for me, you ready for a demon. I got eyes in the back of my head, I'm seeing. Take me for granted and you know I'm leaving. I'ma take what's mine with the webs I'm weaving. I could take this crap from seeing to believing. Got a taste for blood and my tongue keeps bleeding. From the words I spit, so sharp, so freezing. So cold, behold, frostbite they feeling. I could tear you apart or I could go heal them. Don't believe in fate, don't believe in feelings. I just need a taste and my mind starts feeling. I don't pace myself, I grind on living. Got nothing for change, I just love the feeling. No, I ain't gonna give up. Got too little time, I'ma live up. Head down, push forward through the tough times. Cause anything worth doing is a tough climb. I ain't gonna give up. Got too little time, I'ma live up. Head down, push forward through the tough times. Cause anything worth doing is a tough climb. Cause I'ma live life for the fight, yeah, I'm here to get it. I got drive, got sight, always have a vision. I go by at night, I be in my feelings. I'ma be fine, need time and I'll soon be winning. I live life for the fight, yeah, I'm here to get it. I got drive, got sight, always have a vision. I go by at night, I be in my feelings. I'ma be fine, need time and I'll soon be winning. I can feel the blood creeping up from the heathens. Got will, got fight, got pride, got reason. If they wanna go eat, then you know I'm gon' feed them. If you're coming for me, hope you're ready for a demon. I can feel the blood creeping up from the heathens. Got will, got fight, got pride, got reason. If they wanna go eat, then you know I'm gon' feed them. If you're coming for me, hope you're ready for a demon.
What's up, guys? This is a different view, different face. I am here by myself for the first time and probably ever, and I'm very alone and lonely today, but I did want to get a show out the way. It's been 2 weeks since we had Cap Space 1, so we're going to go ahead and get number 2 in. Going to be pretty simple today, just going to look at the matchups of last week and the upcoming matchups for this upcoming week. So, yeah, gonna keep it real simple. Later on, of course, at 9:30, we have free baseball here on the Athlete Sub, and we're also gonna do deep takes from 3 at some point. So stay tuned. Lots of content coming through, but let's just get right to it. I don't want to waste too much time. Otherwise, I'm just gonna ramble on because I am by myself, and this is a different type of feel. I'll tell you. So right away. There were quite a bit of teams that we did not get to last week. So I want to go ahead and give them their proper attention and look at their teams for the first time that we, because, time really moves fast on these shows. So first off, let me go ahead and open up the doc there. So you could see right here, of course, these are the rules for anyone that did not see Cap Space Jam episode 1. You can read yourself if you want to. Very deep in terms of rules and lots of things to look at and strategize on. So let's go ahead and look at the sheet here. I'm going to go pull up and see who we did not get to last week. I know we did do my team, and I'll be upset about my team later on. But let's see. So first off, we're going to review Brian's team. That's a team we didn't get to last week. So I'm going to go ahead and move over. It's actually Brian and Christopher's team. So already they've had 2 guys that have been bought out, in Stanley Johnson and Trey Burke, which that does work to their advantage. That clears up some space, and they can choose to replace them later on if they want to, or they can just hold on to them and just have that clear money. So I do want to read a statement Brian did have for me the other day. Regarding his team, and Chris also was talking about how his team was better than everybody else's and no one stand a chance and all that stuff. Some really weird stuff coming on his side, but I did want to go ahead and note that he also said something. But now we're going to look at Brian's note the other day. I'm sorry, it's taking me a second to pull this up. Brian, where the heck are you, buddy? Let's see. 1 second. 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 1 sec Okay. So he said, we've been riddled by injuries, but we will bounce back and be full steam ahead soon. Basically, he's referring to what you're going to see later. They did fall short this week. And I do agree. There's a lot of injuries early on. You got like Nerlens Noel, hasn't seen any playing time. But, Julius Randle has played really well. You got Zach LaVine, Trae Young. So there are pieces here. Now, would I pick them to win the championship? Probably not. But they do have some flexibility moving forward, lots of free agency spots. So now I will note, myself and Brian, we did make a trade early on where he got one of the top round draft picks. And I wound up getting his first round draft pick for next year's draft. So that's one thing he might want to keep in context with, because you don't have that flexibility for the draft, but you do still have, ability to add in free agency. And we'll see what happens in the future there. And of course, I do want to note the salary cap will increase depending on what percentage the league increases by. We're at currently 140 million on a cap space, but it will increase. Like I said, whatever the percentage is that the league increases, we will increase as well. So this 16 million could very well turn into 25 or 30 million. So it may give him some time. He might not be able to add any max players. And to be honest, there's not that many coming in next season anyway, but he could definitely add some key pieces either via the draft or via the free agency. And we'll just have to see what he does there. So moving on, we're going to go ahead and look at Brad. So Brad's team, he also left me quite a lengthy statement a couple weeks ago. We didn't get a chance to get to his team. Brad, where are you? Brad, where are you? Let's see. So I don't know why I can't find anybody today. Everybody's just hiding. I know they're there. They're just not in my vision. Okay, here we go. So he said quite a bit. So I'm going to paraphrase a little bit, but his plan was to take on two younger, cheaper guys with his first picks. Was hoping for two of Barnes, Mobley, or Cade to be available. Then Ed pulled his heartstrings with his love for Scotty and offered that crazy deal for pick swaps. And he only got one of them. Yeah, because there was quite a big trade early on. There was a bit of an overpayment, but it was a nice, as we'll see later with Ed's team. He also pulled away pretty well. He said, after that, I was looking to get as many Canadians as he could to help pick his team. He had gotten, of course, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander with his top pick there, $30 million a year. He's one of the main options in Oklahoma right now, so I think that was a good pick. He also added some bigs, Mo Bamba, Bismack Biyombo, who could be great ads. We just got to see if they're going to get some playing time, right? And for the wild cards, he wanted to get Curry, but of course he was gone, so he went with Kevin Durant. I don't think that's a bad consolation prize at all. He said, my other two picks, I think, are great value, great late second and early third wild card rounds, which he got with that was Kyle Lowry and Gary Trent, which I agree. Too late possible, And one thing I want to mention with the wild cards, as we're looking on it right here, there are 2 wild card slots left. Now, the thing is, with this wild card, we all have 5, and we all have the option to draft as many as we want if we choose to. But the thing is, these wildcard slots, not only do they reset at the end of the year, they are locked for the year. So that's why you see a lot of us, well, down there, all of us have saved at least 1 or 2 slots just in case we run into some injury issues later on. These are only 2 waiver ads that we could have at some point this season. So that's one thing I wanted to mention. And then he has DeAndre Ayton is a pick that he worries about. He's a big fan of his. And he should only get better. And I agree. I think DeAndre Ayton, is he overpaid? Yes. But is he going to put up numbers? Yes. I talked about that on Deep Takes from 3, where I think the Suns had no choice but to overpay for him because, he gives them their best chance, even though I don't see them winning a championship. But that's another subject for another day. But DeAndre Ayton is a nice name to have on a team. A little bit overpaid, yes. And then teams that he's worried about. He's worried about Gary's team, which we looked at Gary's team last week, which we, LeBron James, Zion Williamson, you got Maxey, Green, Sexton, Drummond. If this team can stay healthy, I agree. That's one team to really fear. And then, if he stays healthy. But I did see Zion went down, but I don't think he's going to be out for long. And David's team, I have to agree, especially after week 1. And shout out to Brad for doing this because he picked David before the week even started. This was 2 weeks ago. But yeah, if you look at David's team now, it's really starting to look dangerous. Ja Morant, Donovan Mitchell, Sadiq Bey, Pascal Siakam, Wendell Carter. We looked at his team last week, so I'm not going to go too much into depth. But you got Terry Rozier, Josh Christopher, Killian Hayes, Rudy Gobert, Lauri Markkanen. I mean, this team is going to put up some numbers. And it actually, one thing I said last week, I didn't think it had that much of a net to fall back on. I take that back. It looks like it has quite a bit of depth. And then we're also going to look, let's see. Then he says, there you go. Okay. Yeah, then that was just him saying I didn't have to say everything word for word, but I pretty much said everything word for word. I got to say, I think Brad's team, I think he's got it on the money. Now, Nick Richards looks really good early on. So this might have been one of those sneaky picks because all of a sudden, we'll see what happens with Terry Eason and Walker Kessler. Eventually, I think he's going to get unleashed, this guy right here. But it gives you a solid 7. And then you got Durant, Lowry, so this team is going to put us some numbers. Do I see it winning a championship? Probably not. But will it be in the playoffs and will it be in the mix? Yes, I believe so. So we're going to move forward. We looked at Brad and Brian's team. One team we didn't get to last week was also Josh's team, which I believe Ronnie and some others had looked at Josh's team and had expressed some fear. Now, on deep takes from 3, I'm always ragging on James Harden. Not because I dislike the guy. I just feel like you cannot trust him in a winning situation. But in fantasy hoops, yeah, you could definitely trust him. He's going to put up his numbers, especially because it's not like the playoffs will count. Because in the playoffs, I don't think you can trust him. But then you got DeMar DeRozan. Nothing much to be said there. He keeps ascending. I think last year was basically his new peak, of course, and I think he's doing just as well this year. Then you got Joker. You got Ayo Dosunmu, who I think is going to put up some numbers until Lonzo Ball comes back, if Lonzo Ball comes back. So, and not to mention he's a young talent, so it's just a nice pick to go off of. So I will say I don't know so much about his depth. So that would be my maybe critique. But again, as the case for most of these teams, and you're going to see with how the draft was structured and the wild card draft was structured, there's not going to be one team that really is head and shoulders above everybody else in terms of on paper. But if this team stays healthy, yeah, Joker, Harden, DeRozan, enough said. Nothing you can really say. Then moving forward, we did not look at Austin's team. I'm sorry. I know I'm going all over the place, but I did make a list because I did not want to miss anybody. I want everybody to get their proper look at. So now, Austin's team is interesting to me. You got Jamal Murray, who is somebody I'm pretty high on. I don't know. I feel like he's going to really bounce back. If you're watching Deep Takes from 3, that is the team that I'm predicting will win the NBA Finals. So can't get much bigger than that. Then you got Klay Thompson. We'll see what happens. And you got Fultz that he picked with his wild cards. Yusuf Nurkic, if he can stay healthy, especially the way the Blazers have played the past few games, Damian Lillard is going to need all of the help he could get. So he might end up putting up some big numbers in Portland. Then you got Trey Jones. Chet Holmgren going down. He did pick him. This was after the injury, so we knew that he was going to be hurt, but it definitely hurts. If Chet was healthy, this team looks a lot different to me. Jaren Jackson's not a bad piece. Josh Giddey, of course, put up numbers. I don't expect him. I don't trust him in the long term, but I will say, especially this season with Chet being down, he's going to put up massive numbers. That's a nice pick. Anthony Edwards, at that price, you really can't beat it. So nothing to say there. And then, you got some sneaky pieces. Now, one thing I do want to mention with Austin's team, he's the first guy to release. So in our league, one of the rules, you have an option to release 3 players during the season. As long as you can afford their contract, you could then replace them with somebody else. So you'll see that he had dropped Paul Reed and is paying $1.782 million. And then instead he picked up Santi Aldama in his place. And he was able to afford both. He probably won't be able to do any more unless he makes a trade. But I think this was a nice pick. We'll see how he does. He had a nice preseason, and he's looked pretty good in his minutes that he's played. So, and Isaiah Hartenstein, by the way, looking really good on my Knicks. So I don't know if this is one of my higher teams, but I will say moving forward with the flexibility in terms of this young talent and everybody under team control. And then you have in 2024, because remember, next year's free agency class is really not that deep. So he doesn't really have to do much here. He could go ahead and just draft his wild cards next season, especially if it is a higher pick, because I don't know how many games this team's going to win. But 24 to 25, he is primed. If he picks up a free agent or two, with this 41 million will likely be like 60 million at that time. With the young talent that he has, that's a team you really want to watch out for long term. And he might even put up some numbers this year if everybody can stay healthy, of course. So moving forward, we're going to go at the sports page blog. So one thing you want to definitely check out, my friend here, he does a lot of sports articles, and he's supported myself for a while, and I thought it would be really cool to have him a part of the league. And yeah, he's here, and it's Mr. SPP, as we call him in the doc, but sports page blog. Now, this is a team that really kept the options open. Okay. I don't know why this is 2 million. I might have to go ahead and fix that. I don't know what the heck's going on with that. But nevertheless, he has a lot of flexibility here. Lots of free agencies coming forward. But the thing is, he has his core group of players: Joel Embiid, Bam Adebayo, Montrezl Harrell. I expected more. I think it's going to be kind of disappointing, but that's insurance for Joel Embiid. If Embiid goes down, Montrezl Harrell is going to put up some big numbers. I've had him in other leagues in the past, and when there has been a need, he has come through. Then you got Keldon Johnson, who looks really good with the Spurs. This might be one of the sneakiest picks of the entire draft. Bobby Portis probably won't put up big numbers. So, but then you got Chris Paul, Michael Porter, Mike Conley. So you got really good wildcard pieces. Now, I don't know if it's going to the team's going to compete this year. I would probably lean to no, depending how like the end of the rotation guys do. But that said, there's a lot of flexibility moving forward, and you have the core group of players, because it's not always about winning every year. Now, I'm not saying that people should go and tank, but you do want to set yourself up for long-term success over a long time period, and I think SVP did that. So then moving down to Ed. Now, Ed, you got to give him credit. He's not a big basketball fan, but he's a good fantasy sports player, and he's a nice guy. Ed is literally one of the nicest people we know, and I would love to have him on the show one of these days. But yeah, you look at his team. He did really well for someone who doesn't know the NBA like that. In fact, he looked for Michael Jordan. That's the name of his team. Where is Michael Jordan? So you got Scotty Barnes at the top. That's the best way you could start, I think. And, you know, as Brad said, Scotty Barnes, a really good player. Then he got Bradley Beal, who's definitely overpaid in my opinion, but he's going to put up numbers in Washington. Then you got Karl Anthony Towns. He has Immanuel Quickley, which I think he did that for me in my heart. And then he did Mitchell Robinson, because I'm a Knicks fan, you know. He wanted me to be nice to his team on this review. But yeah, this is a team that has potential. Will I see it winning a championship? Probably not. But Damian Lillard looks really good. So that was a really good wild card pick there. Marcus Smart, Chris Boucher. Again, this is a team that's going to put up numbers. It's hard to decipher this being better than, say, like Ronnie's, who's like right next to him. But Ed did pretty well. As long as he stays active with his lineups and sets it every week, I think he's going to do just fine. So moving forward, let's see. Moving forward, we have Davis. So Davis, another guy who isn't big on the NBA. He is a Knicks fan, but he's never really done a lot of, fantasy sports. So again, you got to give this guy credit. He didn't set his lineups this week, so I'm going to remind him to set his lineups, because if he sets his lineups, he has a team that can actually put up some numbers. We got to see. This isn't Joker. This is the Miami Joker. We'll see what he does, but you got Giannis. So right there, I will say nothing. That's the best player in the league right now, in my opinion. That's who I would have picked if I had a higher draft pick. I would have definitely gone with Giannis. Then you got Mr. Sengun, who had a really good postseason and who I'm really high on heading into the season, especially for fantasy hoops. At $3 million a year, you have him until 2024, where he will make $5.4 million. Really, really good top of the lineup team. You got Brandon Ingram, Bones Highland, which we'll see what happens. Like I said, with Jamal Murray, as long as he stays healthy, Bones probably won't be like a huge pick, but one injury and he's a factor all of a sudden. Then you got Monte Morris at $9 million. So again, one of those teams, maybe not a championship team, but moving forward, there is flexibility heading into the big free agency class this year. You'll see 4 free agency slots open, and you got some cap space there. So I like Davis's team moving forward, and you got Tobias Harris, by the way, Clarkson, who's, as long as he's in Utah, he's going to be really good. And you got Kevon Looney, who gives you some depth there. So I think that's a pretty solid team. Just got to remind you to set your lineups. But I wanted to save this guy for last. I wanted him to be a part of the show, but of course the schedules are crazy for all of us. But our fellow Deep Takes from 3 hosts, you got Devin's team. Devin really made it a key to pick players early on that we talk about a lot on the show. Of course, Jalen Superstar Brown, as I have called him. You got Domantas Sabonis, who Devin and Gary have called overrated. Then you got Jordan Poole, someone that Gary saw the superstardom before. None of us saw. So you got some really good players here. You got a nice mix of young talent. Now, the one concern I have, like with a guy like Johnny Davis, you're not going to see him play a lot early on. So, he's really going to be relying on his top picks here. And as long as they stay healthy, he'll be fine. Now, Anthony Davis, you really can't rely on. So definitely overpaid in a sense. But again, if he can just keep his head above water, he will be in the mix. I think he might be a top 4 team, especially because you got Steph Curry, Harrison Barnes, and Will Barton, who might put up some numbers, right? And he only has one free agency slot moving into the free next year. Now, one thing to note, he is at negative $23 million. So that means he could only really sign like another minimum guy, which isn't a big problem because heading into the following season, you still have your core of guys of talent. And then you got $32 million to fill in, say, 6 slots, depending on who he picks next year during the draft. And, you could really put something together and you have a lot of flexibility. And you're going to compete this year if everybody can stay healthy and especially if a guy like Johnny Davis could pick up some more playing time. So there you have it. So we reviewed every single team, I believe. I hope I did not miss anybody. If any of you guys noticed that I did not get to you guys either this year, this show or last show, let me know and I will get to you at some point. But yeah, this is our team here. This is everything. You got the rules. We have upcoming free agents that we are looking at that everybody will be responsible for. Again, we will have an auction during the off season. Everybody has a certain amount of money that they could use to bid on players. We have $250 million starting, and then Brian ended up trading me a lot of some bidding money there, so that's why you see me at $315. And we will be able to use this in auctions, and we will be responsible also for whatever contracts, of course, the players sign in real life. And we'll get to that. But you don't have to auction to get free agencies. Like I said, there will be a draft every year with the wild cards and the rookies that you can just rely on. So say you're low on bidding money, you could always just draft somebody and fill it that way. Now, the thing is, remember, if you're in negative salary in this league, you can only pick up a guy on a minimum contract, vets minimum. That's it. So you want to try to stay up your head above water. And if you hit, you have a luxury tax of negative $50 million. So say a guy gets extended during the season and it puts you over, you'll be fine. But it's a negative $50 million. So if you happen to get above that, you want to get under it as quick as possible, because if you do not, you could lose basically somebody. You're going to lose a player. There's going to be penalties, so you don't want to do that. All right. Now moving forward, this is it. We reviewed everybody's teams. So now we're going to look at the matchups last week. Look at that. Time really flies. We're already at 5:25. I'm just rambling. It's usually good to have somebody like Gary to, bounce off what I'm saying. Shout out to Ashley. To bounce off the words that I'm saying, so I'm just not rambling nonstop. But we're going to go ahead and look at last week's matchups first. So let me get this screen out of here. There you go. You see my face nice up and close. We're going to look at the window. Okay, we're going to go to the matchups last week. Now, I did not make these teams. Everybody makes their names. You know how Yahoo is. Now, starting at the top, my team really underperformed. I'm really disappointed with my team. I'm pretending this is the Knicks. This is me. And, of course, facing Ronnie, the guy that I had feared the most. He didn't have the highest score this week. That was actually, you'll see that in the next section here. But, yeah, my team definitely underperformed. We'll go ahead and look at this. CC had RJ Barrett wasn't too involved in game one, and then the scheduling, I just had everybody playing at the same exact time. So I really didn't have much of a chance. Now I did use another free agent, wild card, and I got Zubac because I was hoping that I would have had like a guy like Mark Williams pick up playing time. I picked the wrong Hornet. I should have picked the Nick Richards, but I didn't do it. And it looks like Robert Williams is going to be out a lot longer. So that's something I really had to account for. Now, I'm encouraged. I don't believe I'm going to be last place, but I definitely am worried about my team moving forward. You got Jaden Hardy, who hasn't really gotten playing time. Jackson Hayes, who I was hoping would pick up some minutes, but then you got Jonas Valanciunas really picking up some smoke over there. So we're going to have to just see. I might have to make some moves later on. So we'll see what happens. And that's a preview of this week already. But Ronnie's team, on the other hand, just really picked us apart. Now, the biggest matchup last week was Zach's team versus David's team. Now, like I said, with David's team, especially after week one, he put up the highest scoring numbers here. And he beat the second highest scoring numbers in the entire league with Zach. So these are two teams that I might have slept on and I might have been wrong on as a whole. But yeah, you see like Rudy Gobert, his fit in Minnesota looks even better than I had imagined. That's going to be huge for him. You had Wendell Carter. Of course, John Morant's going to do what John Morant does. Lauri Markkanen, I think, was one of the biggest sneaky picks because in Utah, him being the main guy, he's going to put up massive numbers, and that's exactly what he's done so far. Pascal Siakam, I believe, has the highest amount of free fantasy points thus far. Big pick up there. Then you got Donovan Mitchell. There was some concern about how he would fit in Cleveland next to Darius Garland. Would that take a hit on his numbers? And it certainly has not yet. So as we mentioned with most teams, if this team stays healthy, look out because this is what they can do. And right next to him, you had Mr. Zach, who really took a flyer, and he went the cheaper route with a lot of his players, but he got quality young talent and also picked up some top talent in the process. And what that has done has created a lineup that from top to bottom, he's going to have somebody starting every day. There's no worry about, is this guy going to get playing time? Now, you just got to hope that some of these guys will turn to what we are hoping they will. So it's a flyer, but yeah, there's a lot to fall back on. And Miles Turner is hurt, and as is Chris Middleton. So scary moving forward to see what he's going to do. I was thinking maybe he would be in the running for one of the top wild card picks next year, but he might end up being a contender. He might wind up being in the playoffs, and we'll just see what he does moving forward. And then you have Logan's team, okay? Logan's team right here. And you had Gary's team, who I wish he was here this week so he could celebrate his win, but he won week one. Now they didn't put up any crazy numbers, but just enough to win. And Zion did miss a game, I believe, where he left early. But yeah, you see nobody put up major numbers except LeBron James over there with 183 points and Zion with 121 points. Now this team is fragile, I will say. Like if an injury or two, could definitely take apart this team, but it's going to be in the mix. And then you had Logan's team on the other side. I had positive reviews for. Now Simmons for this week 2 already had a nice big game. So this could be one of those picks that helps him a lot moving forward. But there are a lot of guys who didn't get a chance to play. So that's one thing that a lot of us are probably going to struggle with is depth. You got Cam Reddish, who isn't going to play major minutes, even though he looked really good with us. But yeah, this is his team moving forward. And Gary did pick up week 1, the week 1 win. We keep going back to this. I don't know why, but nevertheless. And then you had Jonathan's team against Devin. And like I just talked about Devin's team, if everybody stays healthy, he's going to be right in the mix. And I say that about everybody, but I think he's going to be a top 4 team. So, yeah, Anthony Davis put up major numbers, not even at 100% most of the time. Steph Curry is Steph Curry. He's going to do it. He does 100 points already on this team here. So looking really good. And then you had John on the other side. John put up some nice numbers too, 877. I'm facing him this week, and I worry about my team against his because you got Jason Tatum, who's going ballistic. You got Jimmy Butler, who's going to do Jimmy Butler things. Then you have a lot of just guys that's just going to put up numbers. Christian Wood looks really good, and he hasn't even really come to form yet, I don't think. So he's going to get only better. Yeah, you worry about a depth maybe a little bit towards the end, but he has some pieces. And Garland, you expect him to come back, and I think he's going to do just fine. Okay, so we're moving back here. I could have just looked at it here this whole time. Okay, so then we're going to go down. We got the Ant Farm and the Freaks and Geeks. So that's Austin versus – who's this? Who's he facing here? Yeah, you got two guys facing off. The Freaks and Geeks, which is Davis. Like I said, if Davis would have started his guys, I feel like he could have maybe pulled off a win. But he did not play Giannis at all, and Giannis definitely put up some major numbers. But he did, the guys that were in put up some decent numbers. So he slept and got 478 points. Then Austin, he didn't have to do much. He did pick up the win. And you see a lot of these guys are playing. So you had Anthony Edwards, Nurkic, like I said, that are going to put up numbers when they can. Josh Giddey. We'll see if he can stay healthy, but hopefully he can do better than 788 for the long-term health of his team in terms of really competing in year one. Now moving forward, you got DeAndre Duck, who is I have no idea. This is Brad versus Chris and Brian. And like I said earlier, he did lose, and because of injuries and things of that sort, Brian really struggled to get a decent score up, but he did give his damnedest, I guess. And but yeah, you got like Julius Randle, Serge Ibaka. You had guys that put up numbers, and Trae Young. So he's going to be able to win on any given week. You just hope it's long term and he's able to do more in a long time period, because I outscored him and I had a terrible week. So hopefully he could do better. And then you got, where is Michael Jordan? Of course, as I mentioned earlier, that's Ed versus Josh's team. Now, no real surprise here. No offense to Ed. I definitely think Josh is going to be a force in this league. And with 1,076 points, he did just that versus Ed's 655. There wasn't a lot that Ed could do here. He did, he did his best over there. But yeah, like I said, when you're facing Joker, James Harden, especially Harden looked pretty well. Not in late game situations. He doesn't seem to be able to come through. You can't count on him anymore in that sense, but that's in real life. But in fantasy hoops, you could definitely count on him. Clint Capella hasn't really tapped into anything yet, and I expect him to be a force too. So, and DeRozan. So this team right there, those guys alone, you look at Joker, Harden, DeRozan, those guys alone almost put up 655 points. So that's a big number there. I keep going back. I don't know why. And the final matchup of last week, you had Return of the Heatles. Now, I did message Eric because Coach Kenny didn't start some of his guys. So he only put up 554 points. But that said, SBP, Sports Page Blog, probably would have won anyway, putting up 1,046 points. Embiid, and like I said, Keldon Johnson looked really good. You got Chris Paul, who even with the Suns being a disaster in a lot of ways, I think they will be. He's going to put up his numbers. Bam Adebayo. Michael Porter Jr. has barely got his footing under him yet. And Mike Conley. Those guys are going to put up numbers. And 1,000 points. He's, we'll see what happens moving forward. And we're going to get a sneak peek moving forward because we're going to look at week 2. So today is Tuesday, so it's only one day in. But you'll see I'm trailing right now, Jonathan. Now, the projected points I wouldn't pay too much attention to because I see that Jonathan sets his lineup kind of like on a daily basis while I try to set my lineup a week ahead in case I, run into things and I can't set my lineup. But 1,188 points, if that is what I'm putting up, I'm hoping I need to have a week like that. I need to prove that my team can do some things. Then you got David, who's already off to a nice start, 249 points, which is third, it looks like. Yeah, third in the league so far. And he's facing Brian's team, who, again, they've been riddled with injuries, but he has put up 181 points. I do expect David to win this week, but we'll see what happens. It's not over till it's over. This is why we play the games. Now, moving forward, I'm hoping – I did not check. I'm hoping that Kenny or Eric is now setting their lineups because they could definitely compete with any team in this league because they're one of the deeper teams. But so far, Logan is winning, and he would like to go 1-1 to bounce back from last week. Then heading down with the Ant Farm, right? We got with Anthony Edwards, that's Austin's team versus Ronnie. Now, these are the two of the better teams in the league. So this is, I'm looking at it now, probably the best matchup I'm seeing. I expect Ronnie to win. I do think that's the team that I fear the most. We'll see what happens with the team moving forward till the 2 weeks, okay? Then we got the DeAndre Duck versus Kyle Lowry Seasoning. So Gary, he's in trouble to start off. I don't know if we're going to take too much stock into those projected points, but you're hoping that he does better moving forward. 208 to 119 so far. Then you got Ed, who's off to a nice lead over Devin. I hope Devin is setting his lineups because Ed could definitely pull this off. 216 points to start. Let's see. Has Dev set his lineups? He did today. So it might be a scheduling thing too because one thing, a lot of us are going to struggle with the scheduling. There's teams that a lot of our players play on the same day, and we can't start everybody, so that may be an issue also. Now we have Zach's team putting up 201 points against, I keep forgetting who this is, the freaking Geeks, Davis. So I'm hoping Davis is starting his lineup, but yeah, I expect Zach to probably win this one. Zach has a really good team. Especially after last week. So as long as he sets his lineup, he should be in the running to at least be 1-1 to start the league. So then you got SVP versus Josh's team. So far, Josh has a slim lead. This is going to be probably one of the highest scoring ones. I did say Ronnie versus Austin would probably be one of the top ones, but I think this actually might be it. I might have been wrong there. Again, don't take too much stock into the projections, but they do have SBP winning this one, and they're both 1-0. So one of them is going to become 1-1. We'll see what happens. So in the end, I expect David to be one of our undefeated guys next to Ronnie. And I'm going to go with Josh. But SBP could definitely win this one. So there we have it. So I didn't have any major statements from everybody, but I just wanted to get a show in, look at the scores, look at everybody's teams. There weren't any major free agency moves, no major trades. Actually, no trades at all, actually. The only thing was Austin picking up who he picked up. So that's about it, guys. There's not much else to talk about. Like I said, free baseball is coming on at 9:30. There's a chance you'll see me there. And hopefully next time Gary or Devin or anybody else that wants to come onto the show can do so. We'll do something every Sunday. So just look forward to that moving forward. And that's it, guys. That's it. I don't know how to end this. I'm not used to doing these things by myself. I'm just trying to get through. Thank you guys for watching and have a great 2 weeks. I'll see you in 2 weeks. Bye.
I can hear the demons call when they do what they do. And now I feel like taking off, find a place with a view. The pain is never gonna stop if it's controlling you. I know that time can heal it all, I just gotta get through. I just gotta get through. Cause I feel like taking off, find a place with a view. The pain is never gonna stop if it's controlling you. I know that time can heal it all, I just gotta get through. Sometimes I feel like all is lost, but I know it's not true. I wanna put up all my walls cause I'm not in the mood, but then I cut myself off from the rest of the room. I know that time can heal it all if you're patient and soon it can all be worth it, all the searching. Pain is never really permanent, but damn it hurts, man. I could feel all of the turbulence and it's concerning. I've been searching for a purpose, I hope it's worth it. This society is really trying me. Ain't no hide and seek, I hide to be far from anxiety. I need my space, I need my privacy. I need some silence, please, you're all too loud. You don't speak quietly, opinions violently thrown across every surface. It makes me nervous. If the world honestly burning, that's all I'm learning. Hope that we can make a turn and start reversing all our minds and put the work in. We got some work, man. I can hear the demons call when they do what they do. And now I feel like taking off, find a place with a view. The pain is never gonna stop if it's controlling you. I know that time can heal it all, I just gotta get through. I just gotta get through, I just gotta get through. Cause I feel like taking off, find a place with a view. The pain is never gonna stop if it's controlling you. I know that time can heal it all, I just gotta get through. I just gotta get through. Gotta get through this, life is a nuisance, tie up some loose ends. I try to be human, find a solution, my evolution. A place like this, it didn't exist, we made it like this. So you can go pick the bad or the good.